I'm coming from a company called the Geneplanet. So we are a biotech company dealing with different products from Slovenia, Europe. We're on a market for over 14 years, and we are present in 35 different countries. And I'll spend like 1 minute, not to showcase our company or products or anything, but just so you understand what kind of things we're building, so you'll also understand maybe the challenges we have, and it's going to be a little bit more easy to understand. So basically, our core products are so-called home DNA tests, meaning we basically send you a kit. You can do a swab or send us a little bit of your saliva, and then we do some analysis on that. You have an app, and you can see your genetic predispositions to like smoking or to your nutrition, to the sports and so on. There's also the My Ancestry part, so you know where your ancestors are coming from. And we also deal with more medical tests. So we do prenatal testing for pregnant women, we do cancer screens, we do blood testing and so on. Some unique challenges that we have is that we have to keep up with regulations and different certificates, where you basically build a product once, but you constantly upgrade it, and then some parts are not changing. Let's say the kit and the collection methods, but some other parts, like the software part, is changing constantly, but you also have to basically be in line with all the regulations, which can be very slow. So it's quite a unique challenge. Because we're dealing, we are basically dealing with the whole product process, meaning from the whole cycle, from ideation to building it and then to deliver it to the end customers. And this means everything from having our own laboratories, our own R&D team. We have everything in-house, meaning we have our own laboratories. We do the kits, we send those out, so we deal with logistics. And of course, we deal with software development that then presents you these results either to the doctor or to the end customer as a patient. So we really want to be lean and efficient in this process. And I know probably all of you know that there are a gazillion different frameworks and tools you can use. And I'm not a proponent on one or the other. I've actually been working with Crystal and Scrumban and Scrum and Kanban and everything else in between. But in my experience, different processes, different companies, different domains require some different frameworks and tools. So in our company, we basically started with Scrum, and I'm saying now more about the software development part of it, not so much about maybe the R&D or the logistics part or the warehouse part, which is traditionally more suited to, let's say, Kanban. But the software development, you want to be up to the times, and everybody does Scrum. So we observed a lot of difficulties, but mostly it was done with a transparency and bird's eye view, but also with more specific software problems, like we were doing cherry picking, meaning we were picking out just 2 or 3 items that we wanted to deliver because we couldn't deliver the others because they were in different stages. So our release plans at the end of the sprints were not really release plans, right? So a lot of other problems as well, but the estimation, the transparency, the bird's eye view, this was the main problems. As I said, different companies, different frameworks. I'm not rooting for one or the other, but in our case, we started with a very simple Kanban board, and then we basically extended this to quite a complex end-to-end Kanban flow. And what I mean by end-to-end, meaning that at the bottom, if you look at the bottom right, we have this system Kanban, meaning that we identified, and that's what Marina was already saying, that we identified where the waste is, which are the stages that produce the value, which are the stages that do not produce the value. So like queues where we wait for some additional information or some meetings or whatever it is. And then we mapped all those flows. And in the end, you'll see that we have over 30 different stages, different columns that the development works goes through, right? So this is a system Kanban, and the right horizontal line presents the commitment point from where the tasks go into flow and being through the workflow to be done. But we also did the upper part of the Kanban flow, more the upstream part, where we're trying to synthesize the ideas, filter them from different areas, from different departments inside a company. So you have one idea from the sales guys today, and then you have another idea from the marketing guys tomorrow. And the problem is how to limit this flow and how to filter those ideas so they do not start clogging up the ready to work stage before you commit to it. So we separated those idea synthesis and analysis parts, and then we also did the preparation phase as well. And then above that we have projects, and then we have separate management boards that I will show as well. So we actually achieved really good transparency. And what we achieved also is, I think, was the major change was, of course, from being at the stage of the company where we were pushing all the work to the developers, to the research and development team, but now we were just preparing, filtering, and optimizing those ideas that they are ready for execution, but then they were pulling the work across the red horizontal line that you see when they are ready to work on it. So we, of course, we were using all the tools from the Kanban, like work in progress limits, to do that, but it really influenced and created the done culture in our company, rather from pushing as many tasks as possible, right? So this is how, for example, looks our biggest board right now, and it's over 40 different stages at the bottom, and then you have the apex and the projects above and all the filtering and review stages, and we push hundreds of tasks every few days through it. And of course, we use a bunch of other ideas there, from exit rules to automation to everything else, so that we don't spend a lot of time managing this, but rather that we can optimize and visualize the flow. So, and we did this across the company. We're not done yet, and it's harder in some departments than the others. Marketing, for example, is a department that's a little bit harder to do that because they have a little bit different ways of working. But in R&D, for example, the software development part, the operations, the packaging, everything else basically is already in Kanban flows, and most of them are really nicely connected between them. How you figure out what's working and what's not, to basically eliminate waste. So this is what I'm showing here is one of the earliest reports we have. So our numbers are now thankfully much better. But we are looking anything from cycle times, which you see on your left. So how on average how long the tasks last, that when they're coming into the flow and we start working on them until they finish, right? So we can look at that and we are sure, okay, we can complete, we are 90% sure that we can complete any task in less than 7 days, right? And then we can filter down depending on the project, depending on the team, depending on the compliance requirements and so on, and we can fine tune this to give quick estimates and answers to management teams as well. We're also looking at bottlenecks, and we are breaking down by products, by teams as well, which you see on the right. We're looking at our throughput, so how many tasks can we do per day, or we're looking at how long some tasks are being held. So do we have tasks that are there for 2 months and nobody's moving them, or nobody's checking on them, or we forgot to do another check or another review? So we're using analytics tools like the aging work in progress graph that you see on the right. And of course, our most useful thing is your cumulative flow diagram, where we can quickly see if one of the stages is showcasing any problems, we have any delays or anything. And this works for R&D part, this works for marketing, for software development as well. So we have a lot of problems, but we also have some successes. And for example, we improved our flow efficiency quite a lot, meaning that when we started, we spent only 8% of our time actually working on something. So that's whether it's the development or packaging or whatever it is, to now being over 30%. Meaning that 70% of time, of course, you spend on reviews, on collaborations, on waiting for the capacity and so on. But this is almost, we are basically more than 3 times as effective in actually doing the work, so adding the value than what we were when we started. We also reduce cycle times. We are 5 times faster to resolve bottlenecks and so on. So what I want to say is basically the analytics part is where we are figuring out which waste and at which point we should eliminate. Doing the switch was not easy, of course. This was almost like a year-long project, but we started slow and we built it up. So what you see is basically evaluation of 1 year of work. And we, of course, first had to convince the management team. And to do that was not so hard as we thought, but we basically introduced special management boards for top-tier company goals and must-win battles and everything else that we have on a strategy level. And said that this will basically give them the most complete view to the whole company, right? And we also added specific review stages. So it never happens that something doesn't go through review. And also anybody from the top tier in the company can first look at the top level goal, but can drill down to a specific task. And that kind of drill down bird's eye view was what basically was a no-brainer to convince the whole company to switch. And of course, to switch to convince employees, software developers, and so on. Basically, when you say you're moving from push to pull, so that they will be able to start the work when they have the capacity, when they know they can finish it, rather than us pushing them the work. This was all. This is the only thing that basically need to say, right? And then everything else, like visualizing the bottlenecks and seeing what other departments do, is all just an add-on.